Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the parliament, okay? And basically these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series, like the introduction part, organization of parliament, composition of the two houses, system of elections to Lok Sabha, duration of two houses, membership of parliament, presiding officers of parliament, leaders in parliament, sessions of parliament, the devices of parliamentary proceedings, the legislative procedure in parliament, the joint sitting of two houses, the budget in parliament, the multifunction role of parliament, ineffectiveness of parliamentary control, position of Rajya Sabha, the parliamentary privileges and the sovereignty of the parliament. Okay. And if we talk about the topics that we have covered so far, so basically we have done with the introduction part, organization of parliament, composition of the two houses, system of elections to Lok Sabha, duration of two houses, membership of parliament, presiding officers of parliament, leaders in parliament, sessions of parliament, devices of parliamentary proceeding and the legislative process in parliament. Okay, these are the topics that we have covered. And if we talk about the topic on which we have been discussing, so it is the joint sitting of two houses. And if we talk about the systems or the topics that we are left with, so these are the budget in parliament, the multifunction role of parliament, ineffectiveness of parliamentary control, the position of Rajya Sabha, parliamentary privileges, and the sovereignty of parliament. Okay, so this is the picture that we have created so far altogether. So basically in this lecture, we will start from where we had left in the previous one. Okay, so basically in the previous lecture, okay, let me get it. Okay, in the previous lecture, basically we had started the discussion over the joint sitting of two houses. Okay, and we had seen that there are the three conditions on which the joint sitting could be called by the president and will be presided by the speaker of the Lok Sabha. The first is if the bill is rejected by the other house. Second, if the houses have finally disagreed to the amendments. And if it has been more than 6 months since the second house got the bill but did not respond to it. Okay, these are the three conditions. And thereafter, if we talk about the other conditions, and you can say these conditions in detail basically, so we can say whatever the three situations we have seen, basically in them the president can summon both the houses to meet in a joint sitting for the purpose of deliberating and voting on the bill. Okay, it means that instead of getting separate discussion, that would be a joint discussion between the both houses. Okay, they will jointly discuss on the things. Okay, and then voting would be organized. All right, and remember, if the bill passed in the joint sitting, suppose, let me give you an example. Out of 550 seats in the Lok Sabha, the 520s are in favor. For example, okay, this is the case of Lok Sabha. So what will it do? What will it implicates? It implicates that the bill having the majority. The bill having the majority. All right. And if we take the 250 seats of Rajya Sabha, so basically out of 250, 180 were in favor. All right. This is the case of Rajya Sabha. All right. So here, if you look at here, so what you are seeing, if we take, okay, just made it as in 120. Okay. So basically, if we break down the 250, so 50% is 125, but here only the 120 votes are there. All right. So what will it implicate? It implicates the bill is get rejected. Why? Because the favorism is in the minority. All right. That is the situation. Okay. So here the bill has been rejected. Here the bill has been passed. All right. So basically, what will happen now? The president will call the joint sitting. Okay. Then how many seats would be there? 800 seats will be there. If you combine them both, it means that if you just add 550 to 250, 800 seats would be there. Okay. Then what will happen? The discussion would be organized. Okay. And after the discussion, the voting remains same. It means again the 520 from the Lok Sabha are in favor and 120 from the Rajya Sabha are in favor. So what will happen? Let's sum up them. So what we will get? That we will get 640 votes in favor and 260, or you can say 160 votes in against. All right. So if we take the favorite, you can say the votes are in the favor. So the half of 800 would be 400, right? So now just compare the 400 with 640. What do you think? It is the biggest number. Okay. So what will happen? The bill will get the majority. All right. And then the bill would be considered as an passed bill. Okay. The bill would be passed. All right. Irrespective of the majority in minority in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, if at the joint sitting the bill gets the majority, then the bill would be passed. Okay. So this is the thing. I hope the example is very much understandable for you. Okay. It must be noted here that the provisions of joint sitting is only applicable to the ordinary bills or the financial bills. Okay. And basically, this provision is not applicable in the case of money bill or the constitutional amendments bill. All right. Like if we talk about the four cases, if we talk about the four cases, like ordinary bill, money bill, financial bill, constitutional amendment bill. Okay. If we talk about it. So basically, the ordinary bill having the provision of joint sitting and the financial bill will having the provision of joint sitting. All right. So only these two bills will have the provision of joint sitting and the other twos like these two. Money bill or the constitutional amendment bill. These two bills have no provision of joint sitting. Okay, so just make this diagram and just keep it in your mind, okay, till your examination and even after of this. Okay, there is no restriction that you are only required to keep it in your mind till the examination. Okay, it's just a thing. Okay, so just take it in that way. Thereafter, in the case of the money bill, the Lok Sabha having the overriding powers. Okay, like we had seen, the money bill could only be presented in the Lok Sabha, okay, after the prior recommendation of the president, and the speaker's decision will be final to declare whether the bill is money bill or not. And then, if the money bill passed by the Lok Sabha, then the Raj Sabha will get a 14 days tenure, okay, to discuss on the money bill. And the Raj Sabha having no power to reject the bill, they could only suggest the amendments. Remember, only suggest, not make. Only suggest the amendments, and it is totally a discretionary power of the Lok Sabha whether they want to admit these amendments or not. If the Lok Sabha not agreed to, you can say, consider the amendments of the Raj Sabha, there is no compulsion so that the amendments must be accepted. Okay, so that's why it is said the Lok Sabha having the overriding powers. But if we talk about the constitutional amendment bill, so basically this bill is required to be passed by both houses separately. Okay, so the overriding powers of the Lok Sabha are not applicable to the constitutional amendment bill. Okay, in reckoning the period of 6 months, no account can be taken of any period during which the house to which the bill has been sent is procured or urgent for more than 4 consecutive days. Okay, so if we take the tenure of 6 months, okay, so how much time it is? It is total 180 days. Okay, so any house could take the bill up to 180 days only. All right, and if during this time, suppose there are 2 time periods during which the house remain procured or urgent for 4 consecutive days. Okay, so these 8 days, why I am saying 8? Because there are 2 time periods, at 1, at 2. Okay, so these 8 days will be subtracted from these 180 days. All right, it means the tenure on which the procured and urgent of the house was happened for 4 consecutive days, the tenure will not count in the 180 days in total. Okay, after this, if the bill under dispute has already lapsed due to the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, no joint sitting can be summoned. All right, it means that there was a tension going on between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha regarding the passing of the bill. And then what happened? In between, the Lok Sabha got dissolved. All right, so basically no joint sitting would be called out for that bill. All right, if any of such conditions happens. But the joint sitting can be held if the Lok Sabha is dissolved after the president has notified his intention to summon such a sitting as the bill does not lapse in this case. Okay, for just take an example. Okay, suppose that is 2nd January 2012, for example. All right, in which Lok Sabha passed and sent the bill to the Rajya Sabha. Then on, let's take a date as in 10 January. It is just an example. Okay, so it is 10th January 2012 when the Rajya Sabha rejected the bill. All right, and then what happened? The time period, or you can say the time when the joint sittings to be called, before this on 14 January 2012, Lok Sabha got dissolved. Okay. So if we go by the statement, what that statement says, like if the Lok Sabha got dissolved before calling of the joint sitting, no joint sitting would be happen for the bill. Got it? Second thing. But here is a case. Like suppose if the president before the 14th January, just take an example of 11th January 2012, on 11th January 2012, basically the president fixed date of joint sitting on 21st January. Okay. Then on 14th January, the Lok Sabha got dissolved. So basically here you can say that before the dissolution, the date was already decided by the president. It means that the president had already expressed his intention that he is going to summon the joint sitting of the two houses on 21st. So on 21st January 2012, joint sitting would be called as scheduled. Okay. Remember this. Okay. If the joint sitting date is not already decided by the president before the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, no joint sitting would be called. And if the president already choose the date as the date of joint sitting and then the Lok Sabha got dissolved, so in such a case, the date on which the joint sitting is supposed to be happen, the joint sitting would be called as scheduled. Okay, remember this point. All right. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha presides over the joint sitting of the two houses and the Deputy Speaker in his absence, like we had seen already and we have discussed it also. And if the Deputy Speaker is also absent from a joint sitting, the Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha presides. Okay. And if there is a case like even the Deputy Chairman also absent, such other person as may be determined by the members present and joint sitting presides over the meeting. So we can say if we made the hierarchy of presiding officers in joint sitting, if we made the hierarchy of them. Okay. So basically, there are three things here also. The first would be the who. First, who will? First, the speaker. Okay. First, the speaker will preside. If the speaker is absent, deputy speaker will. If the deputy speaker is also absent, then deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha will. And if the deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha is also absent, then member nominated by the House. Okay, this will be the hierarchy. First preference would be given to the speaker. Speaker is absent. Second preference given to the deputy speaker. Deputy speaker is absent. Third preference given to the deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha. He is also absent. The last preference would given to the member nominated by the House to preside over the joint sitting on that time. Okay, so this is the hierarchy of presiding officers during the joint sitting. All right. After this, it is clear that the chairman of Rajya Sabha does not preside over the joint sitting as he not a member of either house of the parliament. This is what we had already discussed. Like if we talk about the, you can say the presiding officers, if we talk about them, presiding officers of parliament. Okay, so these are basically 4. All right. President. So not president, not president. Okay, okay. There is a slight mistake. Speaker. Deputy speaker. All right. Chairman. Deputy chairman. Okay. So there are 4 presiding officers of parliament as we know. If we take them one by one, speaker is elected from Lok Sabha. All right. Deputy speaker also elected from Lok Sabha. All right. The chairman, sorry, the deputy chairman first, elected from Rajya Sabha. All right. And we know the chairman of Rajya Sabha is the granted portion to the . Vice President of the India. All right. So out of 4, the 3 are the elected positions, while the 1 is the granted position. That's why the speaker, the deputy speaker, they both are the member of the Lok Sabha. The deputy chairman is the member of the Rajya Sabha because it's elected from them. But the chairman is not the member of the Rajya Sabha. Basically, he is an ex-official member. All right. He is not the member of the house. So that's why basically he will not presides over the joint sitting of 2 houses. Concept is clear for you. All right. And if we take the case of speaker and the deputy speaker, so we know that till 10th Lok Sabha, due to the majority party rule, they both were usually from the same party. Okay, till the 10th Lok Sabha. All right, and then we know in the 11th Lok Sabha, basically it would decided the speaker will be for the ruling party. Okay, he will be from the ruling party, while the other one, that is the deputy speaker, he would be from opposition. Okay, remember these things. All right. Okay, the quorum to constitute a joint sitting is 1/10 of the total number of members of two houses. Like we know, generally, if we talk about the quorum, all right, so we know it is the 1/10 of the total number of members in the house. But when we take the case of joint sitting, okay, it means that suppose if the 550 members are in the Lok Sabha, okay, and if the 250 members are in the Rajya Sabha, all right. So basically, generally, when we take the individual cases, then the 1/10 of the Lok Sabha and 250 of the Rajya Sabha in the respective Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha must be present to maintain the quorum. But when we call the joint sitting, so basically we combining them. Okay, it means that there are total 800 members. All right. So now the 1/10 would be calling from these 800 members. Okay, the 1/10 would be calling from these 800 members. This would not calling from the individual houses. All right, remember this. The joint sitting is governed by the rules of procedure of Lok Sabha and not of the Rajya Sabha. Okay, we know that each house of the parliament having their own rules and regulations in respect of business of the house. Okay, so whenever the joint sitting would be called, so basically whatsoever the rules of procedure of Lok Sabha are there, these would be the governing principles of the joint sitting. And the rules of procedure of Rajya Sabha will not be a governing procedures of the joint sitting. Okay. Thereafter, if the bill in dispute is passed by the majority of total number of members of both the houses present and voting in the joint sitting, the bill is deemed to have been passed by both the houses. Okay, like the example we had take, if in the Rajya Sabha, out of 250, 120 members supported it. In the case of Lok Sabha, out of 550, 530 members supported it. Okay, and then we had assumed the condition that even after the joint sitting, none of the majority and the minority votes got changed. So if we combine them, so how much percentage we have got? Total 650 members were in favor, all right, and total 150 members are in against, favor and against. Okay, so whatsoever the 650 would be count, this 650 members doesn't matter on the individual basis. If the 120 are there in the Rajya Sabha, in the Lok Sabha, this will not count, only this number will count. So if the 650 members are in favor, the bill would be declared as passed. Okay, normally the Lok Sabha with greater number wins the battle in the joint sitting, because if you look at the seats, they having the high seats than the Rajya Sabha. Okay, so generally it is one-sided, but because there are the procedures, so we go by it. All right, so students, basically in this lecture we have finished till here. In the next lecture we will continue from here. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say thank you.